welcome. It's good to have you here, and we welcome our young friends who are watching from home. So in today's story, we're reading from the Gospel of Mark, and the disciples are in Jerusalem with Jesus, and they're at the temple, which is a huge building where people could worship God, okay? Now, I made a little replica of the temple right here, but it doesn't really give you an idea of the size of the building. So also there is a painting there by Alex Levin, which kind of shows you how expansive, how big the temple is. So I'm going to describe it a little bit to you and try to give you some perspective. So the temple was 90 feet tall. If you look up at our ceiling, imagine that going up 3 times that. Okay? That'll give you an idea of how tall it was. Now, it's surrounded by this plaza that is the size of several football fields. The walls around the plaza are 16 feet wide. So that's from the door over there to the chair over there. Okay? So they're really big and wide. The stones that made up the temple and the plaza wall they weighed anywhere from 2 tons to 100 tons. Now that's hard to put in perspective, but an African male elephant weighs about 7.5 tons. So the stones were heavy, all right? The stones fit together so closely, and this is amazing, that you couldn't even stick a piece of paper between them. The disciples have an interesting conversation with Jesus about the temple. And Jesus has some surprising things to say. So let's listen to our story. All right, Lydia, you want to come down here? Can we make room for Lydia by Gloriana? There you go, Lydia. Thank you. So let's listen to what Jesus has to say about the temple. I'm going to read from the World Story Bible. "The temple in Jerusalem is so big," exclaimed Peter. "The stones are huge." Jesus looks at his disciples. They all look at the temple. "Someday, even these giant stones will tumble down," he said. Peter couldn't imagine it. How could such a huge building fall down? He wondered. "When will this happen?" asked Peter. John's eyes grew big. "Will we see it?" "Will there be a warning?" asked Andrew. James frowned. "Will we be safe?" The disciples worried. Terrible things happen sometimes. Big buildings did fall. There were wars, earthquakes, and accidents. "Have peace," Jesus said. "Don't worry. You can't know when or how these things will happen, but you can know what to do when terrible things happen." "What do we do?" asked the disciples. "Watch for what God does," says Jesus. "Wait, because God is bringing life to birth. Hope, because God is always there. God always cares for you. Even in wars, earthquakes, and accidents, God is always there. So go and tell others about God's good work." You know, for people in Jesus' time, the temple was extraordinary. But even the most impressive building in the world, built to be a place where people can come together and worship and be in community and feel close to God, will one day be destroyed. In our time, we still experience earthquakes and wars, which can destroy buildings, brings them right down. When this happens, we watch and wait to see what God will do. And we become a part of what God will do by being there for communities that go through really hard things. You know, one of the ways we grow in our faith is learning to find hope when bad things happen. Buildings will be destroyed, but God's love is always there. Will you please be my echo and pray with me. God of hope. Sometimes things are scary. Help us watch and wait, knowing you will bring life and love out of hard times. Together we say, Amen. All right, now I'm